News and Talk 1380 WAOK, an Odyssey station.
Welcome to the Mental Space with Sean Garvey right here on News and Talk 1380 WAOK, WAOK.com, and on the Odyssey app. Look for News and Talk 1380 WAOK. Joining with me in the mental space is a director of development, communications, and training for Community Friendship Incorporated. And folks, before I bring on this guest, keep in mind this is a pre-recorded interview, so please hold all phone calls during this interview. But the important person I want to bring up on the microphone to talk about the event that took place at the Capitol on January 31st, 2023, a very big event. We have Rene Bazel in the studio with us. Good evening. Welcome to the Mental Space. Rene, how are you doing?
Good evening, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
And once again, just to reiterate, you are the Director of Development, Communications, and Training for Community Friendship Incorporated, and you are truly, truly passionate about helping nonprofit organizations maximize their resources. And one of your responsibilities, I must say, being a part of this important organization, you are responsible for diversifying organization revenue by securing funding, sponsorship, and donations. So I know that must be a very, very intense but yet rewarding task that you put yourself in, that you are a part of on a daily basis.
It is indeed. It also allows me to do a lot of community engagement with a lot of our community partners, one being the Behavioral Health Services Coalition. So I do sit on the coalition as a member,
Okay.
Serving from Community Friendship Incorporated. But Behavioral Health Services Coalition is also the organization that sponsors Mental Health Day at the Capitol each year, which is the event that we're talking about today.
Yes,
So
in which I was an attendee of.
Yes, yes. So it was a fantastic day. I think it really elaborates all of the hard work people and peers across the state of Georgia has put in to mental health and mental health awareness and making it just as important as physical health. So we heard today from our new commissioner for the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Commissioner Kevin Tanner. But we also heard from Todd Jones, who is a representative here in Georgia working on the Mental Health Caucus, just telling us about how important last year was, 2022 was for mental health, and how we just need to continue to push the envelope forward.
Keep the awareness going.
Right.
And what better way to do it but at the Capitol?
Right.
Yeah, and I, of course, was an attendee. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, so I was an attendee by way of Zoom. Thank goodness for technology, right?
Right.
And I just saw the engagement that took place there during the 8 a.m. session and the main event from 9 a.m. to 11, and then at 11 a.m., you all took it from Georgia Freight Depot, I should say, to the Capitol. And I just love seeing the engagement. I love seeing that. I want to first talk about the organization itself, the Community Friendship Incorporated and leadership team, made up of a diverse group of professionals, such as yourself, with a wide range of expertise in behavioral and mental health services, recovery-oriented services, nonprofit management, fund development, program development, and evaluation, financial management. Ooh, I love financial management right there, because that too can play a role in one's mental health.
It definitely can.
Employee relations, and so much more. Why do you think this organization is so paramount in our community?
Well, just speaking from Community Friendship's perspective, we're an organization that has been around a little over 51 years. So at this point, we're really embedded in our community. We do serve Metro Atlanta, ages 18 and older, across the metropolitan area of Atlanta. But it's real services for real people who need real help. So at a time of coming through a worldwide pandemic, the increase in fluctuation of the price of food and gas and worrying about everyday living expenses has created yet another layer of mental health awareness that we all need to pay attention to right now. And I think Community Friendship is one of many agencies across Metro Atlanta that can provide the resources and the services that an individual needs to recover on their own personal journey.
Mm-hmm. And especially in Atlanta, in the center, I'm from Atlanta, and traveling to and from the city of Atlanta brings, and just to be very transparent with you, brings a lot of stress, anxiety, trauma, depression, you name it. I remember when I was a frequent passenger of the MARTA train station, taking the MARTA to and from work. And I would see so many passengers come on the train, whether they were dealing with some form of mental illness or they were dealing with some form of drug addiction. And I was like, you know what, there's got to be something. There's got to be some organizations, some outreach programs, centers. They need to be in the epicenter of where everything is at right now, which is, of course, of Atlanta, city of Atlanta, because we see so many people deal with it.
Right.
Care to expound?
Yeah, I think so. There are several teams that work across Metro Atlanta. They're homeless outreach teams, Path Homeless outreach teams that provide this type of support for individuals who may be frequent users of public transportation or airports or places where people just shouldn't sleep, like under bridges or in tents or in places that are just not inhabitable for people to really be residing. So we do have teams across Metro Atlanta. Community Friendship does have a Path Homeless outreach team that does a lot of engagement within communities to help people maybe understand their mental illness or do some motivational interviewing to help them trust us more to provide the services that they might need or learn more about the services that we offer that we might be able to provide to them.
For those who are just tuning in, we are talking to the Director of Development, Communications, and Training, Rene Bazel, right here on the Mental Space with Sean Garvey, News and Talk 1380 WAOK. And we're doing a quick recap of the Mental Health Day that took place at the Capitol, both via Zoom online and at the Georgia Freight Depot on January 31st, the day after my birthday. So it was, we talking about 2 days that were very special. The day of my birthday and the following day, January 31st, Tuesday, which is to raise awareness and acknowledge the different mental health programs and services and places here in Atlanta for people to go and get help. Because Rene, to be transparent again, of course, it's nothing but transparency here on the Mental Space. To be very transparent again, I have folks coming up to me and say, Sean, I don't know where I can go to get free mental help. I don't know where to go to get the free resources. I can't afford to pay to go see a therapist, or I can't afford to go see a doctor right now. I'm pretty much just in a slump. And these are people that are facing various mental health issues. So let's do this, Rene. We're coming up against a break right here on the Mental Space. Okay. And I want you to respond to that, because I know you come across people yourself, too, that are in need of help, but they just do not know where to go to. They just do not know where to turn to, or they don't have the financial means to get help. So, and of course, this ties into the Mental Health Day at the Capitol. So we have one and only Rene Bazel in the studio with me, the Sean Garvey Mental Space Show. Keep it locked right here to News and Talk 1380 WAOK. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Mental Space with Sean Garvey on News and Talk 1380 WAOK. I am Sean Garvey, and this is the show in which we talk about all things considered mental health in our community, Director of Development, Communications, and Training for the Community Friendship Incorporated, Rene Bazel, still hanging out with me in the studio to do a recap of this past Tuesday. I was about to say Monday. I'm still thinking my birthday. This past Tuesday, Mental Health Day at the Capitol, online via Zoom, and at the Capitol on January 31st to raise the awareness behind mental health, not just only in the city of Atlanta, but the entire state of Georgia. Rene Bazel in the studio with me. Now, before the break, I talked about my experiences of talking to people that either cannot afford to get immediate mental help for their own mental illness, and just the lack of information or limited information from folks that need to gain some type of access to a center or to a resource to get the help that they need to get. Do you come across those people that lack information or don't have the funds to get help? Do you come across those people? And if so, what do those conversations look like?
Yeah, pretty much every day. I think all of us within the behavioral health realm in the mental health field of work come across individuals who don't know how to start help, don't know where to go for help, or may be confused about the resources available to them for help. So the first thing I'll say is this past July of 2022, passed down from our federal government, started a hotline just like 911, but for mental health and crisis, which is now 988.
Right.
So by dialing 988 from any touch tone phone, dial phone, you'll be connected to a mental health specialist, where the supports and services that you may need will be available to you. But I also understand not everybody has a phone or has access to a phone. So then in that case, again, back to street outreach teams, point in time counts, which typically take place at the beginning of every calendar year, where you have access to individuals that might be able to provide or either lead you in the right direction to find the help and resources that you need.
And once again, that is 988. Yep, a 3-digit number, easy to remember, 988. And we will make sure that we repeat the number towards the end of this interview. So those are one of services available to people for immediate assistance with their mental health. What is another one? Because we have so much information out there, right? Not just online, but in several different places.
So Georgia, the state of Georgia has the Georgia Crisis and Access Line. That's a 1-800 number. And that number is 1-800-715-4225. And that connects you directly to resources here in the state of Georgia. Whereas 988 is more of a national number. The Georgia Crisis and Access Line gives you support right here in the state of Georgia. Then there's SAMHSA's National Helpline, which is 1-800-662-HELP, which is 4357. So there are an array of resources available, especially now. Mental health has become a top priority for our federal government at this point, which makes it important to all of our states now to provide the resources people need to recover and really live a self-sufficient and independent life, which we all deserve,
Let's talk about some of the vendors that attended this past Tuesday's Mental Health Day at the Capitol. There were plenty of them at the different tables during the 8 a.m. session. And do you want to go ahead and just share some of the vendors that attended this year's event?
Sure. I think Our top platinum level vendors were Humana and DBHDD, the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. And we had our gold level, which was Behavioral Health Link, as one of our major sponsors. Several silver level sponsors, Beacon Health Options, Molina Healthcare, CareSource, Georgia Advocacy Office, Resilient Georgia, UGA of Georgia, University of Georgia Extension, Georgia Association of Community Service Boards, and then just a host of bronze level. I can go on and on. Skyland Trails, Viewpoint Health, Ridgeview, the Machini Method, the Multicultural Development Institute, Iman, Georgia Council for Recovery, Family Ties, Georgia Appleseed Care Partners, and of course, Community Friendship Incorporated.
Of course. Plenty of vendors, plenty of supporters that came out to this year's Mental Health Day at the Capitol. And I did see some of the vendors that were highlighted and spotlighted during the 8 a.m. part of the event. So big shouts, big thank you to the supporters and the vendors that came out there and became a part of this event. What do you think made them come out to support the event?
I think this year we had 5 priorities really driven towards, from a peer perspective, helping them to understand the importance of advocating for yourself, making mental health a priority for the state of Georgia, for yourself, for others, for constituents, for your family, for people who work in healthcare, creating ways for making sure we all get equal pay, paying certified peer specialists what they're worth and the work they do, and making them equals in the work that behavioral health and mental health specialists do across the state of Georgia. So I think Mental Health Day at the Capitol really made people want to be inclusive in that movement. They want to support mental health because, again, Sean, it's just important as physical health.
Yeah.
Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that support and services are not needed to help people recover from it. It is the illness, I say it all the time, that you can't typically see or know people are experiencing unless they kind of tell you about it, or you can somehow see that they might need support in a way. But sometimes people don't show you symptoms and signs of a mental illness. So I think making it just important for us as advocates is making it, our state is making it important.
Yeah. And
people want to be a part of that movement.
Yeah. Especially as an advocate such as myself, a mental health advocate, I love to be in places where there are people telling their stories,
right,
and also talking about the works that they are currently doing to make sure that these different type of mental health bills get passed and the awareness is ongoing. I just love being in those environments because it's so much information, a wealth of information out there, not only to mental health advocates, but to people who have been diagnosed with some type of mental illness, whether it be being bipolar, being depressed a lot, or going through some type of traumatic experience. And we want to encourage people to be in those places as well too, to get information as much as possible. For those who are just tuning in to the mental space, we're talking to Rene Bazel, the Director of Development, Communications, and Training. We just had the Mental Health Day at the Capitol this past Monday, January 31st, in person and via Zoom. And it was presented by the Behavioral Health Services Coordination. So when we come back, I want to talk about the event that took place there at the Capitol that started at 9 a.m. There were different people that came on stage and spoke. We even saw some spoken word, by the way, too. We saw some poetry and talented people that came on stage and did an amazing job raising the awareness behind mental health. So if you got time, stick around. Rene, I want to touch more on that and so much more that you all offered at this annual event at the Capitol. So once again, I am talking to the Director of Development, Communications, and Training, Rene Bazel, for the Community Friendship Incorporated organization. It is the Mental Space with Sean Garvey. And once again, I encourage you to please hold all phone calls. This is a pre-recorded interview. It is the Mental Space with Sean Garvey right here on News and Talk 1380 WAOK. Welcome back to the Mental Space with Sean Garvey, News and Talk 1380 WAOK, WAOK.com, and on the Odyssey app, News and Talk 1380 WAOK. As a reminder, this is a pre-recorded interview, so please hold all phone calls. Once again, I am speaking to the Director of Development, Communications, and Training for the Community Friendship Incorporated organization, Miss Rene Bazel, still hanging out with me in the studio as we recap Tuesday's event at the Capitol on mental health that took place from 8 a.m. to noon. And the event itself took place at the Georgia Freight Depot on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in the beautiful city of the ATL in downtown Atlanta, to be exact. And I want to talk about the event itself, the main event, in which some of the attendees call it the main event, in the other room of the Georgia Freight Depot, where we've seen speakers come up on stage, and we've even seen some people share some testimonial stories on their mental health, including this one woman by the name of Jessica, who I saw get up on stage, and she shared a testimonial story on her experiences growing up and how it affected her mental health. We also had Dr. Sue Smith, the BHSC chair, along with just a plethora of commissioners here in the state of Georgia. You also had mental health caucus chairperson Todd Jones on stage. You had so many people on stage. So walk us through that part of the event, Rene.
Okay. Well, I think you're absolutely right, Sean. We started out with a wonderful story of recovery, is what we call, by Jessica Smith, who is a graduate and also an employee of the Respect Institute of Georgia, where individuals are trained in providing or telling their story in a way that helps others heal and better understand mental health awareness and personal journeys. So Jessica did share a beautiful story of recovery with us this morning, and that's how we opened Mental Health Day at the Capitol on Tuesday. Then we went into just hearing from our new DBHDD commissioner, Kevin Tanner. Previous Commissioner Judy Fitzgerald actually retired in December, and Commissioner Tanner was appointed. And so we had the pleasure of hearing from him, as well as Representative Todd Jones, who also is the Mental Health Caucus Chair here for the state of Georgia. So we heard from some very powerful people who make excellent decisions on behalf of constituents across the state of Georgia, which are everyday people like you and I, who make our voices heard and let our representatives know what's important to us, and then they speak on our behalf. So very grateful to have Commissioner Tanner and Representative Jones with us. This year, the Paladin Award was given to two recipients. It is a distinguished award of service that is given out annually. Last year, in 2022, we lost a mental health champion, Sherry Jenkins Tucker, who was the executive director of the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, and a plethora of mental health support and services across the state of Georgia and all over the U.S. Sherry was well respected and loved by many, including myself. She was one of our board chairs at Community Friendship, so I definitely miss talking to her. But she was awarded the Paladin Award, and her husband will receive that award in her honor. And we also gave the other Paladin Award to Commissioner Fitzgerald, who is the newly retired commissioner of DBHDD as of December 2022. Then we went on to talk about 988, because I talked to you about that.
Right.
988 provided information, just showing people how it works, how people all across the state, from rural Georgia to metro Atlanta to upstate Georgia, really understand the importance of 988. So we did have that clip. And then we also heard from Jennifer Ward Dunn, who is a rural health agent for the University of Georgia extension program. And she provided us some updates and some highlights about what's going on in rural Georgia as it relates to the agricultural community of workers and what we can do to support them more. And we had 2 discussion panels with certified peer specialists from a parent perspective, and then a young adult panel. And then we had live performances by Rise 2 Theater, which expresses themselves through art in recovery. We had somebody drawing a real portrait on stage.
Yeah, I saw that.
We did have spoken word, like you said, Sean. So glad you were able to tune in virtually today. And we also did, we had someone sing for us, because art therapy is always a way to express yourself when you're talking about mental health recovery as well. So just a well-rounded, full day of events, and I'm just glad we were able to represent the state of Georgia from top to bottom, from right to left.
Yes, and also shout outs to Chris Johnson, by the way, too, for his attendance there. We had him on the mental space a couple of weeks ago as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Chris actually designed our brochures. He stepped in as the interim director for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network.
Yeah.
Chris is an awesome, awesome guy, and it's been a pleasure. He's actually a member of the programming committee for Mental Health Day at the Capitol, and it was a pleasure to work alongside him and Heather, James, and Charlene, and Jennifer Dunn, and Sue Smith, and Cynthia Wayne Scott, and Joellen Hancock, just champions in mental health. Helped plan this day, and it was just a pleasure to work with all of them.
But the biggest shout out can't forget that. But the biggest shout out definitely goes to Miss Emily Thompson, the president and CEO of this amazing organization, Miss Emily Thompson. And the organization I'm talking about is the Community Friendship, of course.
Yes, Emily is a new president and CEO. She actually just recently started in November of 2022. And so I guess we could give her a fantastic shout out, because she indeed allowed me to continue to work with the Behavioral Health Services Coalition to plan this event for Mental Health Day at the Capitol. So I am grateful for her support, and definitely happy to have her as our new president and CEO at Community Friendship.
Absolutely. So once again, the Behavioral Health Services Coalition, Mental Health Day, and just to quarterback, the Behavioral Health Services Coalition is a group of advocates supporting behavioral health in the state of Georgia, where they come together to organize the Mental Health Day at the Capitol. So for more information, before you get out of here, Rene, for more information on just the organization Community Friendship Incorporated, about Behavioral Health Services Coalition, and just other things that people can become a volunteer, because I do understand that there are some volunteer opportunities and so much more. Go ahead and give people the website and contact information to learn more.
Okay, definitely. Community Friendship, we can be reached at 404-875-0381. And, Community Friendship serves Metro Atlanta, providing mental health services and programs to adults ages 18 and older. Website is communityfriendship.org. Behavioral Health Services Coalition, love individuals to learn more and know more about it. They can contact the Georgia Parent Support Network via a email to Lisa Pace, and her email address is lisa.pace at gpsn.org.
Okay.
And then I just want to give a shout out real quick to all of our Behavioral Health Services Coalition leading advocacy partners, which would be the Georgia Parent Support Network, the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, Mental Health America Georgia, and also NAMI Georgia. They've been intricate parts of planning Mental Health Day at the Capitol for probably over 30 years. So just very great to always partner with them.
Okay. Hang tight for one more moment, Renee. We getting ready to close out the show, but hang tight because there is one piece of information I would love for you to give to our listeners, if you can. So hang tight. Rene Bazel in the studio, The Mental Space, Sean Garvey, News and Talk 1380 WAOK. And we're back. Welcome to The Mental Space, or welcome back to The Mental Space. If you are just now tuning back in with us, Sean Garvey, my in-studio guest is Rene Bazel. And I can't let you go, Rene, without letting the people know whether or not they can go back and watch the event from the Capitol. For those that could not make it, for those that could not attend the event at the Capitol, can they go back and watch it?
You know what? I'm not sure, Sean, because you had to pre-register for the event. And now that it's over, you might not be able to register anymore. Now, there might be a way where the link may be available for people to see on the registration link, but I don't have the answer to that right now. But I can definitely let you know, and then you can share it with your audience. Because if it's available, we would love for people to go back and look at it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, when we come back on the Mental Space next Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m., once we get confirmation that it is there, then we can let the people know where to go to go back, to find it and go back and watch it. We'll even put it on our Mental Space page, our social media pages, and especially on our WAOK Facebook page.
Okay. I think that works.
I would be remiss if I did not encourage everyone to please keep this number in your phone, 988, the Mental Health Crisis Hotline, 988. You get to speak to professionals 24/7 and refer you to other people in the mental health field 24/7. That is 988. And earlier, you also did mention another telephone number for people to call.
Right. I gave you several. So we have the Georgia Crisis and Access Line at 1-800-715-4225. And we also have the SAMHSA's National Helpline. And SAMHSA is the United States Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. That's what SAMHSA stands for, when people give acronyms and people don't know what they are. So just want to share that. But their number is to the National Helpline is 1-800-662-HELP. And that's 4357.
All right. Well, thank you so much for providing that information. And thank you for taking time to come into the studio and giving us a recap of the amazing things that took place at this Tuesday's Mental Health Day at the Capitol, January 31st. Don't worry, folks. There will be another one next year, 2024, bigger and better. And yours truly will definitely be in the place. So mark it down on your calendar for the next Mental Health Day at the Capitol. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Renee.
All right, welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
Thank you so much.
News and Talk 1380 WAOK, an Odyssey station.